stream is on. Let me see if my stream is on right now. All right. Okay, looks like we are live. Welcome everybody to another session, some tutorial on our trading system, and basically just to give a little bit of insights as to how to prepare for everything, how to do how basically just to give you direction as to what to do. Okay, because I know it can be very overwhelming, especially if you're somebody who's brand new into this type of industry. There's a lot of things that you don't know. Okay, so what's on the agenda today is, number one, we're going to look at the different sessions, right? So the different sessions, you guys know that there's more than one session. And then number two, we're going to look at the economic calendar. This is where we see the different news events. And then number three, we're going to talk about, how to select the things that you want to focus on. And then number four, we're going to look at our rules, like what do we look for when we want to find a good trade. And then number five, we're just going to discuss how to develop our trading plan. Okay, that's the agenda for today. That's what we want to do. Okay, so let's get started with our trading sessions. Okay, so guys, you need to understand that when you're dealing with this industry, you need to know that there's different trading sessions, right? And there's about 5 trading sessions, right? And it's very important to know these sessions because um, there's different stock exchanges, different currencies and such that operate much better on different sessions. Okay, so basically how you get to this page that you guys are looking at right now, this, you just go on Google, type in Forex time zone converter, and then you'll be able to see the different session times. Okay, and then what you need to do when you get into the website, you go to the time zone right here. You have to make sure that it's the correct time zone, because this website is going to show you the different times that the sessions begin. Okay, so you have to make sure that you're in the right time zone. Like, so for me in South Africa, right, my time zone, I would select Africa, Johannesburg. Okay, that's the one. So if you're in another part of the world, if you're in America, Argentina, you click the one that's relevant to you so that they give you the correct time zones. If you're in Asia, if you're in Dubai, you have to select the correct session, like the time zone. Okay, if you're in Egypt, wherever you are, guys, if you're in the Pacific, if you use the UTC time zone, make sure that you have the correct time zone, okay? Because otherwise, you have to understand, guys. Right now in South Africa, it's 4:30 in the afternoon, 16:36, right? And then you might find in New York. Let's check right now. New York time in New York right now. Let's see. Today I've got a lot of time, guys, so I'm not in a rush. Okay. Time in New York right now. Let's see. So right now in New York, it's 10:37, okay? 10 a.m., right? 10:37 a.m. In South Africa, it's 16:37 in the afternoon, right? So that's why it's very important to select the correct time zone that you are in so that you get the correct information, okay? Right? Because if we're in different parts of the world, when we look at the clock, it's different times. You understand? So make sure that you are on the correct time zone on this website. Okay. So hopefully we're clear. Wait, let me just check if. Okay, guys. And then if you do have questions on TikTok, oh my goodness, I forgot to share my my Telegram link, the YouTube link onto the Telegram. My bad. Okay. So, anyways, but this is recorded, guys. This is recorded. This is recorded. So don't worry. I'm glad I had to check there. So if you guys have any questions, just type in the chats. Today, I'm a little bit more flexible, have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more time. Okay. So let's talk about the different sessions and the session time. So when I say 8 a.m., guys, I mean 8 a.m. in South Africa. That's GMT plus 2. Okay? So if you are not in South Africa and you are in another place in the world, right? Make sure that you put the correct time zone for you so it makes sense directly to you. So if for instance, the Germany session starts at 8 a.m. South African time, if you are in New York, right? It's a different time for you. So you need to make sure that it's the correct time zone. Okay? Very easy. So let's just go through the different sessions and the session times. Okay. So the first session that's on. Okay. So before we talk about that, let's talk about some of the components of this website. Okay. So if you look at this little table, guys. Okay. On that first column, right? It gives you the name of the session. Okay. So you've got Frankfurt, the Germany session. You've got London, Great Britain, or the London session. You've got New York, the United States, okay? That's the New York session. You've got Sydney, Australia, and then you've got Tokyo, Japan. That's the Asian session, okay? So this table right here shows you the time zone. It shows you when the session opens, like when does this particular trading session start. It shows you when the trading session closes, okay? And then the status right now, is the market open or is it closed? Okay, so let's start with the first session on the list. Okay, we've got Frankfurt. I hope I say that correctly. That's the Germany session. Okay, that's part of Europe. And the Germany session begins at 8 in the morning South African time. Okay, and then it ends at 4 p.m. South African time. Okay, so right now as we speak, that session is closed. The Germany session is closed. As you guys can see there on status, the session is closed. Okay, now the next session on the table is the London session. Okay, the London session. This is also a part of Europe. Um, this is London, the Great Britain. Okay, and then that trading session begins at 9 in the morning. It begins at 9 in the morning South African time, and then it ends at 5 p.m. And then if you look at this table here on the screen, you guys on TikTok cannot see that, but you guys on YouTube can definitely see that. You can see that the London session is open. Interesting, okay? Mm. So the London session starts at uh, 9 a.m. and it ends at 5 p.m. Okay, South African time. Now we're moving. I'm taking my time, guys. Okay, I want you guys to understand. If you have questions, right, ask now. Okay, because when we move on, please don't take us back, right? Um, hey, what's up, Kenyan brother man? Okay, and then the next session is the New York session. Somebody's asking an interesting question right now. He says, isn't the session from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.? Yes, that's actually correct. But remember, there's something called daylight savings. Okay, this is a period in during the course of the year where they turn the clock back an hour. There's a whole explanation. Go dust up your geography books, right? But there's daylight savings. So at different times of the year, the session times will either be an hour later or an hour before. Okay, but that's another. It's just what happens, right? So that's what's happening. Okay, so right now we're in daylight savings. Okay, research that if you don't know what it is. Okay, I'm not a geography teacher, right? So, anyways, I'm moving forward, and then the next session is the New York session. The New York session starts at 2 p.m. South African time. Remember, a few months ago, the session started at 3 p.m. So now, because of daylight savings, it starts at 2 p.m. We together, right? So the New York session starts at 2 in the afternoon South African time, and then it ends at 10 p.m. If you look at the last column, you can see that the session is open. It's not closed. So right now, as I'm speaking to you guys right now, okay, the London session is currently active, okay? It's gonna close in a few minutes. And then the New York session is also currently open, okay? Very important. I hope you guys can see the importance of this particular tool right here, okay? Now, after the New York session, on this table, we have the Sydney, which is the Australian session. Okay, the Australian session, it begins at midnight, right? It begins at midnight. It begins at midnight South African time. That's when the Australian session starts, and then it ends at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 a.m. So from midnight to 8 a.m., that's the Australian session. Okay, and then if you look at the other column, you can see that the session is closed, right? Next, we have the Tokyo session. All right, the Tokyo session, formerly known as the Asian session, right? This is a very popular session, and this particular session begins at 1 a.m. South African time, and then it ends at 9 a.m. Okay, starts at 1 a.m., ends at 9 a.m. All right. So as you guys can see, the status is closed, right? That particular market is closed right now. Okay, so still on the topic of the different sessions, I mentioned five, right? And there are five trading sessions, but the ones that we as retail traders, okay, retail traders focus on three. Okay, these are the three that matter to us. Okay, I'm not saying that they're not important, the other ones, but these are the main ones that we focus on. Okay, please write this down if you didn't know, right? So the three main trading sessions that deserve our attention, you know, there's three of them. There's the London session, New York session, and the Asian session, which is the Tokyo session. Okay, those are the ones that we focus on. Okay, that's where most of the volatility is gonna be. Okay, so we focus on those three, even though there's five, right? You can still keep those other ones in the back of your mind, but the ones that matter, okay, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, the ones that matter is the London, is the New York, is the Tokyo, just like that. Okay, I don't make the rules, that's just how it is. London, New York, Tokyo, right? London session starts at 9 a.m., ends at 5 p.m. New York starts at 2 p.m., ends at 10 p.m. Tokyo starts at 1 a.m., ends at 9 a.m. Good. We are good, right? So we are good, we are good, we are good, we are good. So what's next on our agenda, guys, right? I don't want to take up too much of your time. What's next on our agenda? So that was number one for the agenda of today. That was number one. So we looked at the different trading sessions and when they begin and when they end. Okay. And we've also highlighted which ones are important to retail traders. Okay. If you want to know why, if you want to know a little bit more about what I'm saying, you can always do a quick Google search and then you can find this information on the internet. It's available, right? But, just to cut time, those are the sessions that are important. Okay, let's move on. Now, another thing to consider when you are endeavoring in this market is you need to know sometimes most of okay not most okay not sometimes, is that the correct word? Okay, let's use sometimes we need to know when there's going to be a big impact or if there's going to be something that's going to impact the market. Okay, so what we do is we go to the economic calendar. All right, we go to the economic calendar. So what is the economic calendar? It's basically a schedule that you see online, right? And it highlights all the different news events that can potentially have an impact on the market. Okay, so the economic calendar is very important because it highlights the different events that can have an impact on the market. So you, as a retail dude, you need to, this is important to you because it could disturb you depending on what you're doing. Okay, so you don't want to be like, let's say for instance, if you're somebody who didn't know about NFP, right, and you think it's just business as usual. Okay, you might get taken out because different things are happening in the market. Are we together? All right, Are we together? That's good. So the economic calendar. So how do you get the economic calendar? You just go to Google. When you get to Google, um, you type in economic calendar. There's several websites that have economic calendar. There's a particular one I like to use, and it's right there on the screen. I don't know if I can actually mention it here on TikTok. I don't want them to take down my live stream. Okay. But yeah, there's several guys. There's several places where you can get the economic calendar. And what I like to do, guys, is I like to filter out the different news events, right? So I only have an interest when there is an event that is high impact, that has a high chance of impacting the market, right? So if there's a high impact event, then I know that it's going to um, do something to the price. Like when that event hits, something's going to happen on the charts. Okay, so those are the ones that I look for. So those are the ones that I notice. Those are the ones that I analyze. Okay, those are the ones that I actually care about. Okay, I want to know when they're gonna hit, so that me, when I'm doing my analysis, pick and choose what I need to trade. Okay. Very easy, very easy, very easy. So now let's just have a look at this website just a little bit. So if you guys look at the screen right now, you can see that, okay, I've already filtered out so that the website only shows me the high impact news. Okay. So if we look today, according to this economic calendar, there's no high impact three-star news today. Okay. So, it's also highlighting that in South Africa, we've got a public holiday, but there isn't a high impact news event today. Okay. And then if you look at Tuesday, because, you can see a forecast of what's going to happen. Okay. So you can filter this thing to show you what's going to happen this week, the whole week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then you can also filter it to see what's going to happen next week. Okay. Next week, Monday, next week, Tuesday, next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. So if we're on this week, we can see that, which is Tuesday, the 29th of April, we can see that in Japan, there's a holiday. There's a public holiday in Japan, okay? Which means that the Asian session might be a bit slow, okay? And then on Tuesday, we have two news events, okay? You guys can see them right there. They're going to be at 4 p.m. South African time. And then the nice thing about this economic calendar, okay, it shows you the time when the event is going to take place, and it also highlights to you the currency that's going to be affected, okay, which is the USD, right? It's the USD. So tomorrow, we've got two events that will affect the USD, okay? It's called the CB, right? Consumer confidence, and there is the job openings right there. Okay, so you guys can see that. So this is where I come to see, okay, this is the news events that are going to hit, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then number three, Wednesday, 30th of April 2025, we have quite a number of news events. We've got something that's going to target the CNY. What is CNY? Is it Chinese? Yeah, what is CNY? Wait, hold on. CNY currency. Hold on, guys. Yes, the Chinese yen. Ah, okay, Chinese yuan. The Chinese yuan. Okay, so there's a news event that's going to affect the Chinese yuan at 3:30 in the morning. And then the next one's news events are going to target or affect the euro. And then if you go out through the day, there's some that's going to affect the US dollar. Okay, so this is very important information, guys. Okay, this is very, very important information, right? Don't sleep on this. It affects us a lot. Okay, it really affects us a lot. Okay, so now there's a lot of events happening on Wednesday. So Wednesday is going to be a very powerful day to be analyzing the markets, okay, because the market is going to be very volatile, right? So Thursday, if we go down the list, we can see that, oh, there's a lot of holidays on Thursday. Germany has Labor Day. Even South Africa has got Labor Day. It's Workers' Day on Thursday, right? So Switzerland has Labor Day. A whole lot of these countries, it's Workers' Day, basically. on Thursday. So the market might slow down. Some of the markets might slow down. And then later in the day, we have the Japanese yen news that will affect the Japanese yen. We've got news that will affect the US dollar as well. Quite a number of news events that are going to affect the US dollar. So you mustn't be sleeping. Okay, it's not time to sleep, right? When there's things happening like this, you mustn't sleep. You can take advantage of this because there's going to be volatility in the market, right? So moving on, Friday, it's also the Chinese Workers' Day, which is the 2nd of May. Russia also has a holiday as well. I'm not quite sure what holiday it is. It doesn't really say, it just says holiday. So I'm just going to assume it's a public holiday. And then on Friday, there's news event that's going to hit the euro, the USD, quite a number of these news events. Okay. So those we've covered two important aspects, guys. You see, we haven't started analyzing nothing, guys. Okay. We're just brushing up on our knowledge right now. Okay. So we spoke about the trading sessions. We're back on the agenda. We spoke about the trading sessions. Number two, we spoke about the economic calendar, right? I just showed you guys that right now. And then number three, guys, because we have this background, right? We have this background information. Now it's time for us to start developing a strategy. Okay. It's time for us to start going into the market now, right? So, number three is a question that a lot of people have is what to trade. Okay. So now we spoke about the trading sessions, we spoke about the economic calendar. So what do we trade? Okay, with the knowledge that we have, like what is it that we go for? Okay. So um okay guys, my hand is tired here on TikTok. Oh, I'm continuing on on YouTube, guys. I'm gonna be live here for 5 more minutes on TikTok and then I'm going to YouTube, right? So anyways, what to trade. So now we've given ourselves the opportunity to learn about the different trading sessions and we know about the economic calendar. So now let's say, what are we going to trade? Okay. So to answer that question is we need to use the information that we've learned just now. Okay. So what to trade, okay, depends on the trading session. Okay. So remember, I mentioned that there's three different trading sessions. There's the important ones actually. There's the New York session, there's the London session, there's the Asian session. Okay. Now, remember, guys, these are three different stock exchanges. Okay. And on those different stock exchanges, different currencies, different stocks are active. Okay. So, because of the three different sessions, there's currencies that will be active in the USD session, right? And then there's currencies that won't be active in the London session, right? But they're active in the USD or the Asian session. So what I'm trying to say is there's different times, okay? And the different session times and different currencies behave much more actively at their correct session, and at other sessions they perform a bit less because that's not when their market is open. Okay. So there's currencies that work in the New York session, but they won't work in the London, they won't work in the Tokyo. Okay. And vice versa, right? So that happens. So you need to be, when you just trying to decide what to trade now, you need to start looking at the different trading sessions and what is active in that trading session. Okay. Very important information. Like, it's so important, guys. A lot of people they overlook it. Okay. It's like trying to trade NAS 100 in the Tokyo session. Okay. You're not supposed to be doing that, bro. Because remember, NASDAQ has pre-market, it's got normal trading hours, and then it's got after hours trading. Okay, so you want to be in the normal hours of trading, which would be the USD session, the New York session. Okay, so that type of information is very important, right? It's very basic, but like, some people, when I go through whatever it is that they're doing, I can see that they're missing this fundamental aspect. Like, it's so simple, people don't do it. Okay. So since you're following me, now you know because we're sharing information here on this channel. Let's go, baby. Okay. So different trading sessions, different currencies work in those trading sessions, right? So if we're looking at indices, let's make an example with indices. Okay. So in those three trading sessions, the New York session, right? So indices is things like NAS 100, US 30, G30, UK 100. It's things like SP 500. Okay. So now let's say if you were an index trader, right? Um, what index would you trade in the New York session? I'll list a few. In the New York session, you can go for the US 30. It's active. It's part of the New York Stock Exchange. You can also look for the NAS 100. You can also look for the SP 500. Okay, those are the main indices. But you can actually do a Google search about this, right? Just to get more information about it. As for currencies that work in the New York session, it would be the FX majors, right? And the USD pairs. Okay. Moving on to the next session, London session. Okay. Which indices would likely be active in the London session, right? That would be your UK 100. That would be, for example, your G30 or G40. There would be your Euro 50, Euro Stocks 50. You'd also look at which other one, guys? Which other one? There's another one that I'm missing. How come France 40? Yes, France 40, FRA 40. Okay, and then currencies would be GBP pairs and Euro pairs. Like I'm just generally speaking under general. Okay, and then in the Tokyo session, which currency or indices would be active? Okay, in the Tokyo session, you can look at the JPN 225, which is the Nikkei 225 in some brokers. You can also look at the China 50, the CN 50. Which other one is there again? I'm trying to remember. So those are the main ones, right? Others will come. You can do research to find out the other ones. And then as for currencies, you'd look for the AUD pairs. Remember, the Australian session is open, so the AUD pairs, all right? The JPY pairs, okay? And I can even say the CAD pairs, the CAD, right? So those are the ones that we would be looking out for, okay? Mm, perfect. Right. So we have an idea now, guys, right? We have a little bit of more clarity, okay? You see, guys, what I'm doing. Okay? I'm giving you context, okay? You don't just rush because remember, trading isn't only about analysis, okay? It's analysis, which is your identification of opportunities, right? And then there's also execution, right? There's also risk management, which talks about your plans. Okay, right. So now we're getting into the interesting parts now on our agenda, which is number 4, our trading rules. Okay, but I think I wanna switch our trading rules with our trading plan. Okay, so I'm moving now our bullet number 5 to number 4. So let's talk about our trading plan. Then our we'll talk about our trading rules. Let me just check if no one has any questions. Okay, seems pretty clean. So let's talk about our trading plan, guys. Okay, the other day I was on the live stream, and you know I mentioned that when you approach the markets, you need to have a balanced approach. Okay, you need to have a complete approach, right? What do I mean by a complete approach? You don't just look at one side, right? You see what we did today. Before we even open up a chart, right? We are now getting to know how the market behaves, right? The different trading sessions, looking at the economic calendar, what and what to trade, blah, blah, blah. Okay, right? So, we need to have a balanced approach, not just a random approach or not just a limited approach, because we want to be successful in this thing, right? Don't you want to be successful? Why don't you have a plan? Okay, most people who are in this industry, they lose because they don't have a plan of approach. Okay, you'll find someone doesn't even know about the trading sessions, but now they're going to rush to open up positions on instruments that they don't understand. Setting yourself up for danger, setting yourself up for danger. Okay. So now, um, let's talk about the trading plan. So now, let's say, let's develop our trading plan, which would include number one, our strategy. Obviously, our strategy is what we're going to use to identify the opportunities, if it's going up, if it's that's basically what trading is about. It's about the market going up and down, and then your strategy is to help you to understand or to anticipate when the market's going to do that. Okay, so that's what it's for. Okay, so that's number one, the strategy. Okay, now we're talking about our trading plan. So we're moving on. Okay, somebody's asking what's my YouTube channel, Mabz FX, MABZFX. Okay, MABZFX. That's the trading channel. M for monkey, A for apple, B for billionaire, Z for zebra, F for F off, X for X Men. Mabz FX. Okay, MABZFX. That's the YouTube channel. Mm. One word, guys. One word, one word, one word. Okay. Now, strategy, guys. What I'm going to show is when we look at the trading rules, I'm going to talk about our specific strategy, our trading system. Okay. That's what I'm going to talk about. And then, now moving past the strategy, that's how we find the opportunity. That's how we find out what the market's going to do, right? That's what that's for. Now, let's also talk about something else, right? It's part of our trading plan. You see, when we talk about trading plan, we want to include as much information in our trading plan as possible. Okay. So, um, also you need to select the correct leverage for the account. Do some research on that. Um, we also need to determine, right, what are we going to be trading, what session are we going to be on, and when we've established that, we need to know that, okay, if we get an opportunity, what lot size are we going to use? How are we going to control risk? You understand? So that's part of the trading plan. Okay. And then, um, moving forward, right, we also need to know what to do when we're winning. Okay. All right, guys, I'm getting off the TikTok and then I'm going exclusively on my YouTube. Peace. Going on to the YouTube right now. Mabs Effects on YouTube. Let's go. All right, so let's move on, guys. Okay, I've disconnected from TikTok, so let's just go on. My hand was getting tired.